Hello, and welcome to Socially Holistic Podcast. Socially Holistic helps coaches and holistic entrepreneurs and women in heart-centered businesses make sense of social media so they can build their own online network and get more clients. As a heart-centered business owner, you do amazing work. Holly's mission in life is to help you help more people. Help us help more women in business with a 5-star review of this podcast. Please leave one today over at iTunes. The more women who find out about this podcast, the more heart-centered businesses will be successful. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the Socially Holistic Podcast, episode 71. This is your host, Holly Wharton, and I'm here with today's very special guest, Natalie MacNeil from She Takes on the World. Natalie MacNeil is an Emmy Award-winning media producer, best-selling author of She Takes on the World, A Guide to Being Your Own Boss, Working Happy and Living on Purpose, and the creator of SheTakesOnTheWorld.com. Welcome, Natalie.
Hi, Holly. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
I'm so excited to have you here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background? I think it's just really fascinating, all the things that you've done.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big question, but I have been running companies for the last 10 years. I started my first business when I was still a student, and a lot of people told me I shouldn't do it, and I did it anyway. And it's really paid off for me. So that was good. And at the same time as I was building my first company, I also started writing this little personal blog called She Takes on the World. And as I traveled the world building my other company, I started to build a lot of momentum with She Takes on the World. And a couple of years ago, I decided to transition out of my media company and to work on She Takes on the World as my full-time job. So it is a corporation now, and we have our flagship program, the Conquer Club. I have a full team that works with me, which feels really, really good just to have that support there. And we keep doing bigger and better things. And I'm just so excited that this is my life. So it's been one hell of a journey. And I feel like everything is exactly where it's supposed to be right now. And it feels really, really good just knowing that.
That is excellent. I think so few people can actually say that.
Yeah, and I think you always want something else. As an entrepreneur, there's always something else you're going to be striving towards, but it's also really powerful when you can stand in the present moment and say, you know what, I'm really happy with exactly where I am right now, because 5 years ago, where I am right now was the dream. It was beyond the dream that I had for myself even 5 years ago. And so just knowing that I'm here, like I've done that, I need to be grateful for that and just enjoy it in the present moment and then work on what's next. But sometimes you just have to stop and smell the flowers once in a while, you know?
I totally agree. Now, do you think that the reason you've gotten to this place in your business where you're really, really happy with what you're doing, is that because you had such a clear vision of what it is that you wanted?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think part of it is having a really clear vision of what you want, but also being able to detach yourself from the outcome. So I love in Deepak Chopra's book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, how one of those laws is the law of detachment, because you are always going to have these goals and dreams and desires, and that's a good thing. We're all here to contribute something to the world, but it's really important that we don't get so attached to the end result that it totally consumes us, because being able to just surrender that end result, I think that's really, really powerful. So I do have a very clear vision, but I also don't really attach myself to the end result, because I think when you do that, you just close yourself off to all the beautiful little surprises and mysteries that sometimes totally change the course and the path that you're on. But sometimes that's a beautiful thing, because it paves the way to something even bigger and a bigger dream than you even had for yourself. And I feel like that's where I am right now.
Excellent. Now, being attached from the outcome is something that's easier said than done. So what do you do to get into the mindset of, I really have this clear vision, but yet I'm open to other things?
I have a daily meditation practice, which has really saved me in many ways, because I think especially when I was starting my first business and I didn't have that meditation practice, I wasn't as grounded. I was always looking for what's next. I didn't spend a lot of time enjoying and appreciating the present moment. And so that meditation practice has just grounded me into this work that I do and into my purpose so much more deeply. And I also have this little ritual that I do when I need to detach myself from an outcome. So I will write something on a piece of paper, and I'll do this beautiful meditation and just burn that piece of paper. I actually have a little fireplace for this now. So I have an open flame fireplace in my home. And if I'm doing a big launch or I'm really set on a goal, I'll write out that desire on a paper and then I'll put it into the fire. And there's something very, very healing about just watching that go up in smoke and just allowing it to go and saying, I surrender this. Like, this is what I want, but I totally surrender it to making sure that it's going to serve the greatest good and not just serve what I want.
I absolutely love that ritual, because I think so many times we can get really kind of precious about the details of what we want and our goals and things, but actually just writing it out and burning it, I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, and I do it every year on New Year's Eve as well. So my New Year's Eve ritual is to write out, I always have 5 big goals for myself every year. And I always write those out on New Year's Eve and write out just what I want my year to look like and how I want to feel. And I burn it. And I love that New Year's ritual as well. And my partner and I do that together. And I think it's just a really beautiful way to end one year and start a fresh one.
Yeah, I really, really like that idea. Thank you. So
Yay!
Okay, yes. I think I will be adopting that one.
Awesome. I'm so glad to hear it.
So Natalie, was there a tipping point in your business when you started building it and working towards your goals and things kind of started flowing and you knew that they were taking off in the direction that you wanted?
Well, I think when I started my business, because so many people told me not to do it, I really think that I felt I had a lot to prove to other people in that beginning. And so there was definitely struggle that came along with that. So I wanted to work long hours. I didn't want to take more than a 30-minute lunch break because that's what you would do in a job. So for example, if there was a yoga class I really wanted to do at lunch, I would say, well, I shouldn't, just because I can go to a yoga class at lunch, I shouldn't do it. And then I also wouldn't want to go away and work in different cities and countries for weeks at a time like I do now, because people would just think that I'm on vacation and they'd be like, ugh, like must be nice to just be on vacation all the time, right? Which is still what I get from some people, even though now they see how it's all come together. So I actually think that the point where everything went from struggle into more of a flow for me is when I just let go of all of that. When I let go of other people's opinions and how they thought that I should live my life. And I have this Steve Jobs quote that's written on my daily journal. It says, never let the noise of other people's opinions drown out your own inner voice. And I think I did that for years when I was first starting my business. And once I decided that everything was going to be on my terms from now on, and that I wasn't going to let anybody else or their opinions dictate how I live my life, I feel like that's when I really stepped into a place of more flow.
And I think that's a massive, massive shift for people, because I think so many of us, especially if we're used to working for other people, it's so hard to break away of what will other people think, living up to expectations of someone else, and just quitting that and living life and running your business on your terms the way you want to.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it is really challenging for a lot of people, but once you can get to that place and you know that you're in the driver's seat and that it's all on your terms, I feel like such a beautiful shift happens. And my whole business just felt better after that. That first day when I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go to that yoga class today. And I don't give a damn what anybody thinks, that I'm taking that hour and a half to myself in the middle of my day. And I think it was the first day that I went and actually did that and spent the day how I wanted to spend the day. And if that meant having to do work then later at night or continuing my work after dinner, that's fine, because I had structured my day in the way that I wanted to. And I feel like I just reclaimed my own power after I did that.
Yes, and I think that's so powerful because I think for a lot of people, our brains just don't function the best during 9 to 5. Sometimes
my brain doesn't. Yeah. I can't do a 9 to 5 schedule. It's just not how I work.
Me neither.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about She Takes on the World. That eventually evolved from your website and your blog into a book. How did that happen?
So when She Takes on the World started gaining momentum and we had, more people than just my mom and my sisters reading the blog posts I was writing, I started getting contacted by publishers and more media outlets, and they kind of started encouraging me to do the book, actually. It wasn't something I thought I would do so early. And it was because of that I decided to actually do the book, because people kept saying, you should do a book. You should do a She Takes on the World book. And I didn't feel ready for it. It took a few years to feel ready for it, but it was just 1 year on my birthday. I was sitting in the bathtub. I had candles lit. I was reading a book. And all of a sudden, it just popped into my head like, you know what? This is the year to do the book. Natalie, it's time to do the book. And that's when I decided to do the book. And I actually just this week excitedly was able to announce my new book deal, which is sort of my dream book deal that I've always wanted, with Penguin Random House and their Perigee imprint. And so that will be coming out next year. And I'm super thrilled about that. And I was ready for another one.
Congratulations.
So I feel like when you're ready, it all falls into place.
Yeah, it does. And do you have a title for the next book?
Yeah, the next book is the working title right now is The Conquer Kit, Ooh. 8 Passion-Fueled Steps to Grow Your Dream Business. Ooh. So it's a very sort of soulful business plan, and I cannot wait to share it with the world because I think it's going to revolutionize business planning.
I love that. So could you tell us a little bit more about She Takes on the World? Because that sounds a bit daunting, taking on the world. But yet I know that your work is very kind of spirit-driven and heart-centered. And so tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, that's so great. So She Takes on the World is... Yes, it can be very daunting. I will start by saying that. And to me, I think taking on the world and what that means, I had this name. So going way, way back, I'll tell you sort of the beginning story. I was trying to decide if I was going to pursue a business or I was going to get a real job, because I already had my business started when I was in university. And there were so many people who said, you really need to abandon that. You shouldn't be starting a business right out of school. You need to go and get a real job and work in corporate for a while before you'll be ready for that. And I was like, well, I'm already ready if I'm doing it already, right? Like I already have this business. So I was getting a lot of conflicting and mixed information, and that was sort of starting to skew my perception of what should be happening in my life at that time and after I finished school. So to give myself some time and space, I went on a trip all by myself to Europe. And I was on a road trip actually in the Czech Republic. And I'm driving down the street and I'm trying to this whole trip was about trying to decide what to do, whether to get a real job or to start a business or to continue with the business I had, but make it totally different. So it was basically starting a new business. And I was listening to the David Guetta song, The World Is Mine. And at the same time, I drove by this enormous globe statue that was like 2 stories high. It was massive. The picture of it is in my first book. And it said, the world is yours. So I'm listening to this song, The World Is Mine. I see this big globe, the world is yours. That's where the seed of inspiration was planted for She Takes on the World as this blog. And in that moment, that was all the signs I needed to know that I had to just follow my own heart and start the business. And so that's exactly what I did. And I think at the time, She Takes on the World, in terms of the name, in terms of the concept of taking on the world, was definitely laced with my struggles of like, I have a lot to prove to other people because they said I couldn't do this. But now that has evolved to me to mean that if you want to take on the world, I think it starts by taking on your world, because I really believe that success is an inside job. And that's what I help people to do within the She Takes on the World community, is that if you can take on your own world, and you can work on your own stuff and you can be that clear channel. There's so much amazing work that you can do and such an incredible business that you can build that supports so many people. So on a deeper level, that's sort of what it's evolved to mean to me. And then more recently, She Takes on the World, of course, has the Conquer Club, which is our flagship program, which is a 12-month mentoring and training platform, as well as an incubator for women entrepreneurs. So this is just everything that I've wanted to be doing for so long. And I sometimes call it my accidental business, because it did start off as just a blog. And there were all these little things that happened along the way, and little signs that I was getting and whispers that I was hearing that helped me make it something so much bigger. And I think that's almost more special than the other business that I had, where I just had this idea and I was very adamant about what it was going to be. But this one has sort of grown organically all on its own.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about the Conquer Club. You've also got a book called Conquer.
Yeah, so yeah, it's an ebook, The Conqueror's Manifesto. And to me, the Conquer Club, the reason why I wanted to start it was because I wish it was what I had when I was starting my first business. We provide a lot of mentorship, not just from me. So it's not a program where people sign up to work with me. They sign up to work with me and a team and mentors that they really need to help them grow their business. So in this 12-month incubator, there are a lot of live calls, so it's less curriculum-based than other programs, because sometimes when you get a curriculum or you're just buying a self-study course, it's just not the same. It's not information that's always geared specifically to your business. So because we do everything in a live format, and for our 2015 format of the Conquer Club, which launches in December 2014, we have over 40 live calls that happen throughout the year with me, with my systems specialist that works within the Conquer Club, and with this whole team of mentors, so that you can ask the questions that you need answered for where you are right now. So we're able to provide a much more personalized learning experience for women entrepreneurs than a program that would just give you a curriculum to follow. And that's what makes the Conquer Club very different. And I think the 12-month format is another thing that really makes it stand out, because there are quite a few programs that are anywhere from 4 weeks to maybe 12 weeks. And sometimes you just can't make the radical shifts that you need to make in that amount of time. And so I find that when we are there to support somebody for a whole year, we're able to help them stretch a lot further and to grow in a way that is built on such a solid foundation. So I like doing those deep dives, and people think I'm crazy for doing 12 months. They're like, how can you commit for 12 months to doing this thing? And it's like, well, because I want to see these people get exactly what they need. And I don't always think they could get what they need in 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks. I sometimes think that people need a longer runway, and that's what we give people. And it's been such an amazing year, and next year is going to be even better. So I get goosebumps every time I talk about it. I love this community so much.
Oh, that's great. And so was this year your launch year? This was the first year, 2014, that you ran the Conquer Club?
So we actually did launch it on a much smaller scale in 2012, more or less just to test it all out. And in 2013 was our first official year. And then we've grown from there. Now 2015, though, is sort of the big bang for us, because it's what I've wanted to build and what we've been working towards for a while. But of course, whenever you're starting out with something, you don't always have the big budget or the resources to do what you want to do. And it's important that you just build the minimum viable product and that you launch something. You don't wait until it's perfect. You need to get something out there, get feedback. It's much more important to just get it out into the world than it is to make it perfect and then get it out into the world, because it's never going to be perfect. But in 2015, I feel like it's our first year where I've had the budget that I've always wanted to have for it. We've been able to build it out in a way that I've always wanted to, but didn't have the resources to until now. And so that feels really good. And I think the 2015 year will definitely be the best year yet. So it just keeps getting bigger and better. And we listen to our community, and we bring more people on to support that community. And it's really cool to just see it taking on a life of its own now. And I think it's almost one of the greatest honors of building a business, to start to see it take on that life of its own, because then you really start to see that, yes, it is about so much more than you. She Takes on the World, when I first started it as a blog, was so much about me, because it was just me blogging about my journey being in business and traveling and all that. And now it's not about me. It's about this amazing community and all these people who are stepping up to start businesses doing something they love. And they're sort of revolutionaries in a way, because they're doing things very differently than things have been done in the past, especially in the business world. And so just seeing that and witnessing that is just incredible.
Yeah, I think it's so amazing the way business has evolved, and so many more women are starting their own businesses and quitting their jobs and just doing, what they dream of.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think we have the power to really shake up the business world. There's a lot of ways that I think we can do things differently. And this is something that I talk a lot about in my first book, She Takes on the World. And it's, women are starting businesses at twice the rate of men in some cases. And I wrote this post that went viral for Forbes a couple years ago called "Entrepreneurship is the New Women's Movement," because in the 70s, women were leaving the home in favor of going into the workplace. And now so many women in droves are leaving the workplace to go back home. But this time it's not to be a homemaker, it's to actually start businesses doing something they really love. So it's just a really cool shift that I think we're only at the beginning of. And it's going to be really exciting to watch what happens even over the next decade.
Yes, I agree. I think things are really, really going to be changing in the next, 5 or 10 years. So,
yeah, and I just can't wait. Again, goosebumps.
I know. So, Natalie, one of the things that you mentioned earlier was about how She Takes on the World is all about taking on your own world first and working on your own stuff. And a lot of women that I've spoken with, and myself included, have found that when you start your own business, all of your stuff comes up.
Yes. I just wrote this a few weeks ago. Yes, it's true. All of your stuff comes up when you're on the roller coaster ride of being an entrepreneur.
And it's fantastic because it just sits there right in front of your face, and you either have to, look at it and deal with it, or just be stuck. So what are your top tips on how to work on your stuff, take on your own world, and build this business that you really, really love doing?
Yeah, it's such a great question. I know in the early days, I would have the craziest fears and blocks. I feared that I would lose all my clients, even though people were coming to me all the time, and I could have probably got, even more clients than I was getting because I had to even turn people away. I still feared that there was potential that all my clients could walk out the door. I feared that, when money came in, oh my goodness, I'm going to how can I make this work for the next 6 months? Because what if I don't make any more money in the next 6 months or any more money in the next year? Feeling like I didn't know what I was doing. All of that comes up, I think, when you're, I'm sure you and many others can relate to all of that. So this is where my meditation practice, I think, has been so essential. And I know for your listeners, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who already meditate. For me, the meditation sound healing was another thing that has helped me a lot, and using brainwave music to keep me focused. So frequency music to keep you in a theta brainwave state. When you're writing, for example, things like that have really helped me to stay focused on certain tasks and sort of eliminate those blocks that come up that are associated with certain tasks. And then I also ended up completing the level 1 and 2 training in EFT, the emotional freedom technique, or tapping as it's often called. So that really helped me as well, because I started to just there's this thing called the personal peace procedure where you write out every single block or fear that you can think of, even if it seems really, really small, anything you can think of that may be standing in your way. And then you're sort of tapping on and meditating on each one of those things. And you're doing like 1 or 2 of those a day. And for most people, like my teacher said, you should be able to have at least 100 things on your list. like really think hard about this, because so many things that you don't even think are significant, and they are. Like for me, there was this one time as a kid where I remember things were really tight for my parents. My parents had me when they were pretty young. Money was pretty tight. My dad was still in school, and there was this one time where my mom was really stressing out about money. And she had made a comment about, maybe not being able to eat that week because things were really tight. And I know she didn't mean it to scare me or anything, but it did. It really affected me, and it's something that I held on to for a really long time. So it's amazing that even little things like that from when you're a kid can actually end up getting very, very deeply buried in your subconscious mind. So I think it's important that, maybe I know for some people tapping doesn't resonate. For me, tapping helped me a lot to sort of work on those fears and blocks and to continue working on them as they come up, as well as the meditation. For other people, it helps to talk to a therapist about building a business. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs now who are starting to say, I do go to a therapist to talk about my business. And I think it's great that we can talk now about therapy in a way that isn't really stigmatized. It once was. I think that more people are open to that now, and it's a little more judgmental, which I'm really, really happy to see, because like you said, entrepreneurship brings up everything. It brings up all your stuff. So those are ways that I work on getting past my own fears.
Excellent. And in your Conquer Club program.
Too.
Oh, yes. It's a lifesaver.
Spending time in nature, like all of those things just really help me a lot.
And are these the kinds of things that come up in your Conquer Club program as you help women work with not just the practical side of business, but also the inner blocks?
Absolutely. I am a firm believer that business growth and personal growth go hand in hand.
Oh, yes.
And you're not going to grow your business unless you are really working on growing yourself as well. And so I think there's always work that has to be done. It's never over. It's our human experience. There's always something that we are meant to be learning. And I just try to, both for myself and for the clients that I work with, try to help them too, to just see what's there in front of them now. And even if it's something really challenging or is feeling really uncomfortable, trying to find the lesson there. What are you meant to learn from that? Because if you're not going to get the lesson this time around, that same thing is going to keep happening to you again and again and again until you find the lesson. And so approaching anything uncomfortable and approaching, my stuff coming up as I continue to experience these growing pains, I know that if you can just stay focused on that it really can help you get through so much. And people always think it's going to get easier as you grow. I thought, 5 years ago, if I could only get to where I am now, everything would be so easy. And it's never like that. Now I feel like, I have all these people on my team. So now it's just not a matter of, what if I lost all my clients and wasn't making any money. It's not just about me. It's about my entire team that's there. My team members have families and rely on this as their income as well. So now I feel more responsible for this whole group and for so many more clients now as well. We have so many more people that we're working with, and holding space to serve them is something that also comes up for me a lot. Like, I just want to make sure that I'm always doing the work that I need to do to hold space for so many more people. And so just things like that are things I didn't expect to be worrying about when I got here. But now that I'm here, it comes with a whole other set of worries as you go through different growing pains. So there's always something to be learning.
There's always something to be working on.
Yes, always. Which is, it's good, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Gives us something to do.
Exactly. So, Natalie, how can other women in business benefit from working with you? So you've got the Conquer Club. Do you have any other offerings as well?
So the Conquer Club's pretty much the main thing that we do. Leading up to it, we host a Conquer Summit every year, which is a free course that we do. And we have a whole bunch of special guests and amazing resources and worksheets and all that. And that's the conquersummit.com. But the reason why I have stayed really focused on the Conquer Club, and within the Conquer Club, there are offerings for, going on a retreat or conference. So we have a few different offerings within the Conquer Club, but I try not to do a lot of offerings because I think there's a lot of power in staying really focused on one thing. And if I was launching a few things a year, I wouldn't be able to put all of that energy into the Conquer Club. So I think the Conquer Club is what it is because we are so focused on making that one thing so extraordinary for our members. And that's why I stay focused only on the Conquer Club. Now, aside from that, yes, there's the book. So right now I'll be working on that new book as well. And I think in terms of answering your question, how can people benefit from working with us? I think the main benefit is that we really just push you out of your comfort zone in so many ways. And sometimes you need somebody, and sometimes not just one person. So in the Conquer Club, it's me and a whole team of mentors that are pushing you to do things that you've never done before. And it's in being pushed to do things you've never done before that you can achieve more than you ever thought was possible. And I think that's the power of working with me and working in an incubator like the Conquer Club.
Excellent. That sounds very, very exciting. No, I totally agree.
It's exciting for me too.
For years now, I mean, ever since I've been in business, I've been like constantly on the edge of my comfort zone, pushing myself beyond just because you've got to. Otherwise,
and even I find that when people are running businesses from home, especially, it can feel very lonely. And so the Conquer Club is also very much a sisterhood of fellow conquerors who know what it's like to be going through what you're going through. And I talk to so many people who do feel like, working at home, working in their own little bubble is too comfortable sometimes. They need other people to be around them, to be pushing them, to be supporting them. And I think that's the beauty of the Conquer Club. And we have so many meetups in person too. So this isn't just connecting with people online, but connecting with people in your city and in cities that you're traveling to, because I think that in-person connection is also very important.
I agree.
We can't just stay in our home offices all the time.
No, we've got to leave sometime. So, Natalie, do you have any women business mentors? Are there any women in business who inspire you?
I think I don't ever look to just one person. And even for me, I try to keep a well-balanced team of male and female mentors around me because I find that they all bring something so different to my business and bring very different perspectives. And for me, I find inspiration in so many successful women. It's not just one. Like I look to women like Amelia Earhart, who were such pioneers in their time and were willing to fight the status quo to do something really bold and really brave. What she had to go through just to be recognized as a female pilot and to pave the way for other women to enter aviation, that's really, really inspiring to me. Women like Sarah Blakely, who was the youngest self-made female billionaire at the time when she built Spanx. And now I believe there's a new young woman, I forget her name right now, but leader of a health company. She's even younger and is worth something like $2 billion now. So that's really exciting to see women building companies in a way that has been unprecedented. Like to build to that level was almost unprecedented before this. I mean, Oprah's done it. A few others have done it. But this is to see a woman who's 40, who's just built this empire. That's really inspiring to me. So I look to a lot of different people for inspiration. And I think it's something that everybody should do. You shouldn't just stay focused on one person. I actually call this the North Star syndrome. Sometimes you get so fixated on the success of just one person that you don't even see the other stars in the sky. And people think that North Star is the brightest star in the sky, but it's actually not. Sirius is the brightest star in the sky. But you stay so fixated on thinking that one person is the brightest light that you've ever seen that you ignore your own light and the light that other people are shining too. And I just never want to get into that headspace of thinking that there's only one person to fixate on.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. So, Natalie, where can people find you online?
I'm everywhere online.
Yay!
You can find me everywhere. Definitely come on over to shetakesontheworld.com because I have an awesome free 14-day Conquer course for you when you come on over. And that's packed with a lot of goodies and worksheets for planning the next 12 months of your business. I am on Twitter at Natalie MacNeil. That's MacNeil. On Instagram at Natalie MacNeil. And we're on Facebook at She Takes on the World. So come find us. We're all over the place and would love to connect with fellow women who are taking on the world.
Yay! Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Holly. And I wish all of you just love and light on your journeys and just keep doing what you're doing in the world.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Remember to visit sociallyholistic.com/SHP71 for the show notes on this episode. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Socially Holistic Podcast with your host, Holly Wharton. Please help us help more women in business by giving us a 5-star review of this podcast. The more women who find out about this podcast, the more successful businesses there will be. So please leave a 5-star review today over at iTunes. Thank you.